Hi, I'm Neil Ball from neilball.com. I'm going to review a book that I have just read by Seth Godin called Permission Marketing: Turning Strangers into Friends and Friends into Customers. On the cover of this book, Seth says he wants to change the way that almost everything is marketed today. Will you give him permission to show you the future? They were prophetic words, and I will explain why in a moment. This book is a seminal book that was written in 1999, and whilst some of the examples in this book are out of date, the actual principles that Seth talks about in this book of permission marketing are totally applicable today. In fact, I would go as far as to say they are more applicable today than ever before. So I believe that what Seth has said is really, really important today. And in fact, a lot of gurus and people talk about the principles that are in this book in a lot of their training. So it really is important that you understand what's in this book. So what Seth does is he gives a metaphor for permission marketing and uses dating to try to illustrate how this works. And what he says is that you wouldn't ask somebody to marry you on your first date or on a first date. And if you did, you'd be very unlikely to get a yes. And what you need to do, obviously, is date that person for a period of time and build a relationship before asking. If you were to ask early on, then you could lose the opportunity later. So with permission marketing, what permission marketing is about creating an opportunity to connect with people earlier and for longer, so building that relationship. And by doing that, you will make your marketing more efficient. And in marketing, frequency builds trust and permission facilitates frequency. And that's really the premise of Seth's argument of why permission marketing is so important. When you sell to a customer, or when a customer wants to buy something, what you find is that there is if you think about it, there's a process that the customer goes through before arriving at the decision to make a purchase. Some people might describe that as a gestation period, where the initial decision to make that purchase is made, and then some research is done, and then eventually the purchase is made. And very often the actual process, the window of when somebody's actually going to make the purchase, is right at the end of this process. And most people advertise to try to catch people in that window at the end. But if you take the timeline of a purchase and actually think about it, not only do you get a gestation period from the moment that they decide that they are going to buy something, there is often a period before that where somebody maybe niggled about something not working properly, or maybe they want to buy something because there's some new technology that's come out, so they're thinking about it but they've not quite decided. Whatever the reasons are, this is also a part of the buying cycle. So it could be a very much longer buying cycle if you were able to tap into that customer earlier on. Now, because most people advertise and try to get people to buy right now, they are focusing on a very small part of that timeline. So what you end up with is that you are really competing, or businesses are competing with the majority of other businesses, which means that it's very difficult to get the sale from that customer because everybody's competing there, and it's expensive to advertise because obviously everybody's competing there. It's simple supply and demand. Now, one of the problems with advertising, and this is another thing that Seth talks about, is that there is a lot of competition for advertising. And In fact, I got this from a book from Al Rees and Jack Trout, who talk about this and describe the competition in the marketplace as over communication. And the basic principle is, and this is what Seth says about this, is that there are more TV channels than ever before, and there's more printed media than ever before, and there are more new products being launched than ever before, and the internet is full of advertising. So your daily exposure to adverts has increased enormously since probably 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and most mediums have become less efficient due to less concentration of people than there used to be back in those days, because more people have got more choice, so they tend to be dispersed over these various mediums. And really, people are getting too much information, and people have learnt to really zone out of this information, or be blind to it, or be distracted by something else, because obviously you've got remote controls and things where you can actually avoid this information. So it becomes increasingly difficult to grab people's attention. And this is what, as I say, Seth wrote this in 1999, and now it's even more the case than ever before when you watch this situation and the way that people market the products and things, that it really is difficult. And the cost of getting results through conventional interruption marketing are extremely expensive, because with interruption marketing, you need to give somebody multiple exposures to your advert. And there is an adage in advertising that says that you have to give somebody 7 exposures of your advert before they will buy. So using the dating metaphor, interruption marketing is like repeatedly asking somebody to marry you without ever building a relationship with them. So you're always trying to get them at that moment, on that sweet spot when they are ready to buy. Even with interruption marketing, if you can get someone's attention, they are giving you a transitory permission to tell them about how you can solve their problem. This permission is mostly wasted without collecting an email address or a home address, which is what most people do when they do interruption marketing. Getting permission to send information to somebody that helps them is much easier than making a sale. So you get more leads when you follow the principles of permission marketing. And it's because it's less of a commitment than buying the product. People will do this earlier in the purchasing process. As I talked to you before about the fact that there's this gestation period in making a decision to buy something. And there's the period before somebody makes that decision to buy. So with interruption marketing, if you can catch them earlier in the process by offering them information or something that helps them at the point that they are at, then you will get more inquiries by them, because they only have to grant a small amount of permission to you, which is to give you some information that allows you to provide them with that information, rather than asking them for their credit card to buy the product. So you'll get a lot more people providing the email addresses or the home addresses as a result of that. And if you think about how that must work out, you end up with more customers giving you their email address. And if you do the job properly, as Seth, in the way that Seth talks about in the book, then you will convert more of those people into sales. So the cost of acquiring each customer is reduced, because you're getting more, you're selling more to more people for the same amount of interruption marketing. And in the book, Seth talks about there being 5 levels of permission marketing. Now, I've already talked about the first level, which is interruption marketing, which Seth talks about as being a transitory level of permission marketing. But there are another 4 levels above that, which I'm not going to talk about at this moment in time. but it is worth getting to understand how you develop your inquiries to take people up to those different levels. And when you've got permission from your potential customer or your prospective customer, then you're able to then send them multiple messages to talk to them about their problem or where they are, and that allows you to take them through the process of getting them to the point where they are ready to make the purchase. And as you send these messages, the customer will start to expect them, and in many cases anticipate them and want to receive them from you if you do the job properly. And getting permission to send information that helps someone, as I said before, is easier than making the sale. So obviously you're talking to more people more often, which is the frequency that I talked about earlier with the interruption marketing. So the concept really is about building an asset, i.e. a list, which you can then obviously cultivate and turn into sales. The actual process of getting permission, Seth talks about giving some kind of gift in exchange for some information. So initially the information is the minimum amount of information you can get from them. So perhaps their email address and maybe their name, or you might be asking for their home address, and in return for that you bribe them effectively with something like an ebook or a white paper or a newsletter or software or some other, maybe some software tool or some tool that helps them to make the decision, or there could be some other way of doing it. And you then send them, as I say, these multiple communications with value content and build that relationship and ultimately build trust so they buy from you. And that obviously is the key point. And what you do then is, what Seth then talks about later on in the book, is how you build to the next levels. And in essence, what you do is you provide extra information, extra gifts, extra bribes effectively in exchange for more information. And that allows you, for example, if you then ask, whereas initially you're talking about a small amount of information, you can start asking people more things, and you can start finding out more about your customer, things like their demographic information, and that will allow you to be more targeted with your promotions, and also it'll allow you to then increase your conversions, which will obviously help to reduce your cost even further of acquiring those customers in the first place. And the process of permission marketing also continues after the sale, and this is probably the easiest thing for people to adopt in their marketing, probably right now. But many marketers and many businesses don't actually use the customers that they've already sold to, and they keep going out getting new customers with additional interruption marketing and really forgetting about the customers that they've already got. And those customers are the easiest customers to sell to. So another benefit, and a fantastic benefit of permission marketing, is that it makes your advertising and marketing more effectual by increasing the number of sales that you make and the return on your investment of your marketing. So it just becomes more effective. I mean, that's the top and bottom of it. So why should you listen to Seth Godin? He's the author of 18 books. He founded Yoyodyne, that was bought by Yahoo. He was also the vice president of direct marketing at Yahoo for a period of time. He founded Squidoo, who have recently merged with HubPages, although Squidoo isn't around anymore. And in 2013, he was inducted into the Direct Marketing Hall of Fame. So you could say he knows a thing or two about marketing. What's missing from this book is up-to-date examples, as I touched on at the beginning of this review, and also He could talk about the new possibilities of permission marketing like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube. Although if you read the book, you soon work out how permission marketing, as Seth describes it, can apply to those new mediums now. What I'd say that this book is something that you have to read if you are in any way interested or doing any kind of marketing online, if you are a small business, if you are an entrepreneur, if you run a non-profits organisation or a charity, if you are an author or a musician, or you're in a group, or if you're just in business, anybody who's in business, it really is a useful book if you want to get more sales, or you want to get more donations, or you want to build a fan base in some way or other. Then it's a great book to read because it gives you a really good understanding of what you need to be doing. It's an easy book to read with lots of examples. As I say, some are out of date, but still applicable today. And in fact, in today's over-communicated society, it's even more applicable, again, as I obviously talked about earlier. What I liked about this book is I enjoyed reading it. It was an easy read. The concepts were explained really well, and also it's really an essential read for anybody who wants to do profitable marketing. So overall, I give it a rating of 8 out of 10. I would give it a higher rating if it was updated, but obviously it isn't, so where it is at this moment is 8 out of 10. Definitely recommend that you read it. I will be reading more of Seth Godin's book in the future. If you are on YouTube, I would appreciate you subscribing to my channel so you can get to know more about the reviews that I do as I do them in the future. Please leave a comment below and share this on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm Neil Ball from neilball.com. I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.